ask you, so Christie thinks that you're a flip-flopper on the Donald Trump issue. And honestly, I agree with him. And you're basically the new John Kerry on the if you remember John Kerry from 2004.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about Vivek Ramaswamy, who, in my opinion, I think really is doing an excellent job of spreading the America First message. I think that he's campaigning extremely hard, and it is very unfortunate that somebody like him, who's clearly the most intellectual and smartest candidate in the race, is doing worse in the polls than somebody like Nikki Haley, who has proven that she, in fact, does have a bird brain because of her lack of response and understanding of certain issues or even history. First, she got exposed at the GOP debate stage by Vivek Ramaswamy when it comes to her lack of knowledge on the Ukraine war. She could not name the 3 regions / provinces or oblasts, right? That's what some people want to call them. They'll try to get on you and say, oh no, it's actually an oblast, not a province. Well, I'm like, well, oblast translated to English means province or region. So anyways, regardless, she couldn't name any of the 3 provinces that Ukraine was fighting to protect, right? The potentially spend taxpayer dollars on and potentially send troops overseas to protect, okay? Couldn't name it, right? Couldn't name it. So now, in her latest blunder, she gave a word salad Kamala Harris-esque answer to a obvious gotcha question from a Democrat plant who asked her a simple question about the origins of the Civil War. Now, in my opinion, I think that question was not necessary. I don't think that it really is relevant to today or in what's going on today. But Nikki Haley couldn't really answer the question in a coherent way. And it's really bad because she did not mention slavery. Now, again, I don't really have an issue with her not mentioning slavery as much as I have an issue with her not being able to really articulate an answer in regards to the origins of slavery. She should be able to do that. She is a politician. She should know at least the basics of the history of this country, but it seems that maybe she doesn't know, right? However, Vivek Ramaswamy was asked the same question by an audience member on his campaign trail, and of course, he knocked it out of the park. And I want to talk about that. However, I got to say this. Vivek, because of the things he's been saying out loud, he's essentially become a target, right? And because he's become a target as a public figure, he probably should think about protecting himself. And that is why I would suggest that maybe he consider getting a Vanish holster. All right, guys. So I'm excited to tell you about the biggest giveaway that I've ever done on this channel. And it's brought to you by Vanish holster. The Vanish holster is designed for the everyday concealed carry patriot, rather than solely focusing on the upper echelon of shooting proficiency. This product is tailored for everyday Americans, prioritizing self-defense and protecting their families. Honestly, guys, I love this holster. It's incredibly versatile. The holster works with 99% of all modern handguns, carries 2 additional magazines, and can work in a variety of carry configurations. Now, me personally, I'm left-handed, and the good thing about this holster is that it is ambidextrous. Comes with 2 size options. What you see here is a 48-inch waist belt, ensuring a perfect fit for every body, and the belt is adjustable and lightweight. It's about 6 ounces. And again, guys, I can't stress how comfortable this holster is. I mean, even while I'm working, I'm sitting. You can see here is where my weapon is placed. So while I'm sitting and working, I can still protect myself. I can still be very comfortable. I can wear it all day. Yeah, so if you're a concealed carry patriot, this is definitely something you're going to want to check out. And that's not even the best part about it. Check this out. They're launching the biggest giveaway I've ever had on this channel. They're giving one of you this incredible Jeep Gladiator and $25,000 worth of gold thanks to Vanish. All you have to do to enter is click the link in the description below and get yourself the most comfortable holster that you'll ever wear. And Vanish is hooking you up. Get 40% off now when you use my link below, plus 120,000 bonus entries with each purchase up until December 31st.
Yeah, I got a 2-parter. I wonder if you could tell me
great.
What the causes of the Civil War were.
Oh, yeah.
And if we're headed to another one, possibly.
That's the question of our time. Civil War is one of these things that speaks itself into existence. actually. And, you know, you have a governor of South Carolina who doesn't know much about the history of her own state, but South Carolina actually in about 1832, it's one of the things we learned in U.S. history class in 11th grade, they actually were going to secede from the Union. We're talking nearly a couple decades before the Civil War. Right? So this comes back to the present. Our history isn't about our past. It's about our understanding of our future. So they actually, in 1832, were about to secede. Back then, it was about tariffs between the North and South. But ultimately, the thing that boiled this over was slavery. But there were tensions brewing, a value system that was fundamentally different in two countries that shared a geographic space, but a value system that was fundamentally different. That's really what led to the Civil War. So the powder keg was in the air, slavery was the match that we lit that caused it to boil over. Well, the question you asked is, where are we today? And I don't use that word lightly. We are already, I would say, in the middle of a Cold War in this country. A war between those of us who love the United States of America and those who hate this country and what we stand for. And I called this a war today because, like the one fought 160 years ago, 80 years ago, we could say that it's an incompatible worldview. Either you believe in merit or you believe in group quotas. You cannot have both. Either you believe in free speech or you believe in censorship. You cannot have both. Either you believe in American exceptionalism or you believe in American apologism. Just as happened in that last Civil War, you cannot have both. That's the moment we live in today. And I think now more than ever, we need a commander-in-chief who will lead us to victory in this Cold War so it does not turn hot. That's what we require. And I think it's going to take somebody from the outside. Somebody who's not susceptible to the special interests that got us to where we are. And I believe now more than ever, somebody from the next generation to reach and lead the new generation of Americans. That's what it's going to take.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. As per the usual, Vivek knocked it out the park, okay? I mean, he even made me reconsider my stance in regards to whether or not this question is even relevant, because a lot of people say, oh, well, you know, we're headed towards a civil war. However, I think that the kind of fundamentals between, you know, how the Civil War was fought back then and how a civil war will be fought today are different, in the sense that back then it was kind of North versus South. And I think geographically it probably made sense in regards to how they would fight a civil war. But today is more about like kind of rural versus urban, right? Because most of the liberals in this country are piled up in these liberal metropolitan cities, okay? And everywhere else is basically conservative for the most part. So again, I have a hard time imagining what a civil war would look like today, where you have the country kind of divided politically, but it's not geographic in the sense that it is, you know, again, clearly cut lines in regards to where everybody on this side is here, everybody on the side is there. No, I mean, you have, you know, cities where, you know, you have a ton of liberals, and then surrounding the cities are conservatives, right? Are conservatives going to be invading these liberal cities, right? Is that what's going to happen? Or liberals, are they going to invade small conservative towns, which, you know, by the way, they would have zero chance whatsoever, right? I mean, let's keep it 100. That's another reason why I think, you know, the whole Civil War thing is just kind of, you know, I think a little bit over the top. Even though I'm not saying it couldn't happen, I just don't see in what world does people that are not on the conservative side win, right? I'm just saying. But who knows? I guess I can see scenarios in which you could say maybe conservative states decide to secede, right? Because of overreach by the federal government because of too many problems, okay? And maybe at that point you have the liberal cities that try to revolt, and then you have, I guess, the conservatives try to, you know, take over the liberal cities or something like. I guess I can see in some type of scenario like that, maybe, you know, some type of civil war scenario, and then you have the federal government having to invade the conservative space. I guess that would be the way that it would play out, in a similar way that maybe, I don't know, the Civil War play out. But I still think that it would be highly unlikely, okay? Maybe it's establishment versus anti-establishment, okay? Maybe it's the people versus the government, or maybe just small conflicts that are in just, you know, distinct parts of the country without it being widespread, but more of just, you know, regions of the country that are, you know, experiencing violence or fighting. Maybe that's what it will be. But anyways, with that being said, Vivek obviously knocked it out of the park, okay, would answer that question. Meanwhile, you have his competitors, people like Christie, for example. He had to make the whole Civil War conversation not necessarily a history lesson or try to relate it back today, but he had to try to make it about Trump. Take a look.
See, because if she is unwilling to stand up and say that slavery is what caused the Civil War, because she's afraid of offending constituents in some other part of the country, if she's afraid to say that Donald Trump is unfit because she's afraid of offending people who support Donald Trump, and because maybe she harbors in the back of her mind being vice president or being Secretary of State, and since she won't deny it, we have to believe that she's willing to do it. If she's unwilling to stand up to that, what's going to happen when she's got to stand up to Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries in Congress? What's going to happen when she has to stand up to Vladimir Putin and President Xi in China? What's going to happen when she has to stand up against forces in our own party who want to drag this country deeper and deeper into anger and division and exhaustion?
Yeah, so you have Christie, who is once again questioning Nikki Haley and the fact that she won't say that Trump is not fit for office, which, by the way, is so ironic coming out of Christie's mouth, and how he really wants to focus so much on everybody else's fitness when he should be focusing on his own fitness. I'm so serious, okay? Because he quite literally is the most unfit guy for office, right? He's even more unfit than Joe Biden. Let's keep it 100, okay? We're concerned about Joe Biden and whether or not, he's going to be able to make it 4 years. Again, I think that same type of concern should be applied to Christie, because clearly the guy, because he's morbidly obese, he does not have the discipline to be commander-in-chief. Now, some people may say that's controversial to say, but I'm so serious, right? When you allow yourself to get that big, I have to question your discipline. And more so than anything, being commander-in-chief, you need to be a disciplined person. When you clearly aren't even disciplined enough to control yourself, okay, clearly that's some problems, right? You have some issues that you got to worry about. So, yeah, I just love how Christie keeps using this term fitness, right, and questioning everybody else's fitness instead of his own. It's pretty ironic stuff. But anyways, again, that's the difference between somebody like Vivek and the competitors, right? You got Nikki Haley, who can't even answer the question, right, coherently. And then you got Christie, who's making this about Trump and all this other stuff, his personal vendetta. And then you got people like Vivek, who's giving history lessons. He's saying, okay, let's give a history lesson. Let's try to see if we can tie it back today and what's currently going on in this country. Like, he's actually providing substance and value, okay? And it's so rare that you see that in a politician. And that's why it hurts me, right? That he is not doing better than he is doing right now. I mean, I understand, people who are like, I'm going to vote for Trump, because I don't want to see him go to jail, or that, because of how good of a job that he did in the first, 4 years of his presidency. I mean, at least in the first 3, I can say that, yeah, I mean, Trump, I think, is the best president that we've ever had, at least this century, okay? I'm just saying, I mean, I don't even think it's close, right? I think he definitely was better than Obama, and he's definitely better than Biden, and he's definitely better than Bush. Now, some people may say that that's not much competition, but hey, I'm just saying, he's been a great president. Okay, so I can understand people saying, hey, I know what we're getting under Trump and I want that back. That's why I'm voting for him. But I don't understand anybody that is trying to make a case for somebody like Nikki Haley or even Ron DeSantis at this point over Vivek Ramaswamy, right? And I understand people that, like DeSantis because he was the governor and, I guess you could say, well, he's proven, right? He's proven he can get things done. But has he really though, right? Considering how Florida is deep red, the legislator is deep red. He doesn't really get much pushback in regards to whatever he wants to do in Florida. I'm just saying, Vivek is the most impressive candidate that I've ever seen, period, okay? And he just seems to always be ahead on every single issue, including this issue of Trump being taken off the ballots by the Trump deranged Democrats. Like, for example, check out his take on what is happening in Maine with them trying to pull Trump off the ballot. Take a look.
Vivek, the secretaries of states in 2020, secretaries of states, one individual would come in and wipe away the laws of the legislature and say, because of COVID, I'm changing mail-in balloting. One person changing election rules. That was 2020. 2024, one person saying, I am disenfranchising Trump voters. Your thoughts?
Well, look, Haley, I think you phrased it well, but I would say that this is not an action of one person. This is the action of an entire system that has an anaphylactic reaction to one man. And I think they're dropping the breadcrumbs. They're making it clearer by the day. I'm concerned that they will not allow this man to get anywhere near the start line of the election, let alone the finish line. And I say this as somebody who's running in the same race as Donald Trump. This is not how we should want to win. So I stand by the pledge I made earlier on the back of the Colorado decision, and I reiterate it today, that I will voluntarily, as a Republican candidate, remove myself from any GOP primary ballot where one of my competitors, Donald Trump included, is forcibly removed through this unconstitutional maneuver. And I think one thing that the other Republican candidates can do, Kayleigh, is to fight against this, to say that Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley and Christie do the same thing, that if Maine is going to do this, we then take Maine out of the GOP primary process. That's the logical way to handle this, and so I made that announcement tonight. I challenge every one of my other competitors in the GOP primary to do the same thing, to say that we will not stand by idly and watch this brazen form of election interference in the GOP primary itself. And I think that that's not a left-wing or a right-wing issue. It shouldn't be. This is about the Constitution and who we are as Americans. And that's why I've taken the position I have.
Any state where Donald Trump is forcibly removed from the ballot in this way, I'll also remove myself. And I challenge Christie and Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis to do the same thing, or else they're also complicit. If every Republican removes themselves from the ballot in Maine, that automatically stops this election interference in our GOP primary. Now, the fact that they're not doing it reveals that there's something deeper going on. This isn't just the Democrats. There's a force within the Republican establishment that's propped up a chosen puppet, and they're actually rooting for this same outcome every bit as much as the Democrats are. And I think it's time we open our eyes to this insidious game that's being played. I'm deeply worried, but I'm worried that I'm right about this, that what we're seeing right now, this isn't the end of the road. This is just the beginning of what they're planning to pull in 2024. And you mark my words on that. This is a system that has decided by hell or high water, at one cost or another, they will eliminate this man from contention in this election. You see that happening Colorado 2 days ago, Maine today. You wait for what's happening in 2024, and I'm worried for this country.
Yeah, same. And Vivek is the only GOP candidate that is actually sounding the alarms. I mean, of course, Trump is also as well, too, because it involves him. But, yeah, I mean, he's the only one actually sounding alarms about, hey, look, this is dangerous, right? Like, our country is really falling off a cliff when it comes to these political persecutions and what is obviously, clearly a plot from the powers that be to not allow a man that is currently leading, not just in the GOP primary, but also in the general election, according to the polls, to not allow him to run for office or to take office. Clearly undemocratic, clearly an attempt to overthrow our republic. And we have to be worried that this stuff is going to get worse, right? These other people, man, they're just not on the same level as Vivek. And I really don't understand how in the world is he losing to somebody like Nikki Haley. I don't get it. I really don't get it, bro. It bothers me, okay? It hurts me in my soul because it makes me disappointed in people, man. It's like, yo, how can you listen to Nikki Haley or DeSantis or, Christie and say, oh, well, those three, right? I'd rather vote for them over that guy. Again, it blows my mind. It really does. But hey, it is what it is. I just personally believe that going into 2024, it's going to be important that whoever the GOP nominee is, if Trump is somehow pulled out of the race, because they're not going to stop, that they commit to essentially dismantling the deep state that allowed this to happen. And if Trump is convicted of any, these federal charges, that he receives a pardon as well, too. Okay. And that's why I think that the GOP primary still does have some importance, even though it's pretty clear that Trump is going to win in a landslide, because if he happens to be taking off enough of the ballots to actually affect the outcome of the GOP primary, or that, he's not allowed to run in the general for whatever reason, the next person up, it has to be somebody that's actually going to help fix the problem, right? Because I think personally that, if it was Nikki Haley or DeSantis, let's say that they somehow took Trump off, they disqualified him in the general, or, Jack Smith ends up trying to throw Trump in jail. They convict him of the January 6th federal charges or something like that. I don't believe that Chris Christie, Ron DeSantis, or Nikki Haley would do anything about it, right? I believe that if they actually won, they would say, well, too bad, so sad, I'm not really going to do anything, okay, because they don't like Trump, okay? The only person I believe that actually would do something that would fix the situation is Vivek. And again, that's why I think that it is so disheartening that he's not polling as well as he should, because people got to realize if Trump goes down, which could happen, the next person up is extremely important in regards to moving the country forward and fixing the situation. And I personally believe that there's only one person that would actually do that, and that is Vivek. I don't believe these other people would. I believe that they would just be like, oh, well, I'm glad that Trump is gone, right? Got rid of him, right? I won, so hey, it is what it is. But hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.